This lesson is on surface area of pyramids and cones. First, we're going to talk about what makes a pyramid. It's a polyhedron. It has to have a polygonal base, which means the base has to be a square or a hexagon or a rectangle or something to that effect. Could be a triangle. And then the sides themselves, the lateral faces, are all going to be triangular shaped. They all come together at a point at the top called the vertex. Because our lateral faces are slanted, we now have an altitude, which shows the height of the pyramid, but we also have something called the slant height. The slant height shows the height of the sides. The altitude shows the height of the entire figure. The slant height shows how tall the sides themselves are. This is going to come into play when we talk about the lateral area. The formula that we're going to use for the surface area of a pyramid is 1/2. The L stands for slant height. So this value here is the slant height right here. P still stands for perimeter. And then to that, we are going to add the area of the base. Surface area formulas other than spheres, remember, all start out with lateral area plus the area of the base, depending on whether or not there's one or two. In this case, there is only one base, so we don't have to take it times 2. But the lateral area, to find the area of the sides of a pyramid, you'll take 1/2 times the slant height times the distance around times the perimeter. And that's the perimeter of the base. That gives us our lateral area. We will add the area of our base to that to get our total surface area. Looking at an example problem like this, 1/2 times the slant height, notice I give you the slant height here is 14, and then times the perimeter. You can see that this side is 8 and it has congruent tick marks on all 3 sides, which means all 3 sides are 8. So to get our lateral area, we would do 1/2 times 14 times, and our perimeter would be 24. 3 times 8 is 24. And we would take and multiply those numbers and get 168 square units. So our lateral area would be 168. To get our surface area, all we have to do is add on the area of our base. Our base is a triangle, so the formula is 1/2 base times height. So we will add in 1/2 times 8 times 4 times the square root of 3, because that's the height of our base. And that becomes 195.7 square units. Please be careful when you do these formulas that everything after the plus sign only deals with the base. So after the plus sign, you can ignore the rest of the picture and just look at the base. Before the plus sign, you can kind of ignore the base and just look at the sides. So you could ignore this part and then go and do that, okay? So there's a little bit of a trick to this in the fact that you need to pay attention to where you're at in the formula, whether you're talking about the sides or whether you're talking about the base. And surface area is made up of both. When we talk about cones, cones are odd shapes, kind of, because they're similar to pyramids in the fact that the edges come up and meet at the vertex, and yet they're different because they really don't have sides. There's still a slant height because the edges come in, so there's still a slant height and an altitude. The slant height still shows the height of the sides, so to speak. The altitude still shows the height of the entire figure. The formula for surface area of a cone is a little bit easier than pyramids, simply because cones have a circular base where pyramids can have any shape base. The formula for surface area of a cone, the lateral area is just pi times radius times slant height. So pi times the radius times the slant height, and then the area of our base, since our base is a circle, is just pi r squared. So to try this, we would need to know, we know that the radius is 5. To find our lateral area, we'd also need to know the slant height. Notice I don't give you the slant height, but I do give you the altitude. So that makes a right triangle with the radius, so you can do the Pythagorean theorem. You can do 6 squared plus 5 squared equals the slant height squared. And the slant height comes out to be 7.8. So you would do pi times 5 times 7.8 to get the lateral area, which would be 39 pi in exact form, or you could multiply it out. To get the total surface area then, we would take our 39 pi and we would add to it the area of our circle. Pi r squared, so r squared is 25 times pi. That gives us a total of 64 pi, which would be the exact answer, or 201.1 square units when you talk about the rounded answer. The last thing that we're going to start to talk about is composite figures. Composite figures is where you take one three-dimensional figure and you combine it with another three-dimensional figure. For example, a silo is made up of a cone, this silo in particular, is made up of a cone on top and a cylinder on the bottom. So if you were going to find the surface area of this silo, you would have to take the surface area parts from the cone and add it to the surface area parts from the cylinder. So you would, and since the bases disappear when you put the figures together, you're just doing lateral area. So it would just be the lateral area of the cylinder plus the lateral area of the cone, and that would give you the surface area of the entire silo. That concludes this lesson. Your homework is as follows.